fears that several legislators in the 12th Parliament may have contracted the deadly coronavirus. This is after a majority of the MPs received their results today from the Ministry of Health after taking the tests last week. Although Speaker of the Senate, Ken Lusaka, is not confirming or denying the reports, indicates that the results for each and every legislator who took the COVID-19 test remains private and confidential. It is now emerging that the speakers of both houses were forced to call off their sittings this week to avoid any new infections after receiving the reports. Our Chris Tairo has been following that for us.
As per Kenya Gazette of last week and signed by Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, members of the National Assembly were to have a special sitting on Wednesday afternoon to approve some of the economic stimulus interventions proposed by President Uhuru Kenyatta to cushion Kenyans from the effects of COVID-19 pandemic, while the Senate was to resume Tuesday afternoon. But the plans seem to have aborted at the 11th hour.
After consulting with my colleague in the National Assembly, we said maybe we put also on hold the plenary session so that we then look at how we can transact business, maybe using new technology, new ways, because we're also conscious of the fact that this coronavirus is real, and we also want to take very serious precautions so that we don't get infected or we don't also get maybe members or whatever affected by it.
It is now emerging that more than 20 legislators in the 12th Parliament might have tested positive of the COVID-19 pandemic after receiving their results from the Ministry of Health. According to sources, some of those who turned positive are members of a committee from the National Assembly that had just returned from the UK on official duties. Others interacted with their colleagues when they jetted back, while others may have been infected by some of their relatives who defied the government's directive to self-quarantine.
You know, testing was voluntary, and this is very confidential. The doctors give results to individual members who went for the testing. For example, I can only talk about myself because I did the testing here, plus my security and my family. So I know my result that I'm negative. But for the rest of the members who have done the testing, they are being given their results as individuals. So the only person who would know is the individual who was tested and the Ministry of Health. I cannot speculate, I cannot say this has happened.
Rabai MP William Kamuti is already under self-quarantine after testing positive for the virus. This is after mingling with Kilifi Deputy Governor Samburi. Kamuti had also interacted with several members of Parliament. The leadership of Parliament is already working on modalities that members can meet and pass legislations without meeting physically. Kilifi Senator Stewards Mazayo, for instance, argues that Parliament should embrace technology to hold plenary sessions via teleconference, since physical sittings in the traditional way have become untenable with the COVID-19 pandemic.
Some of the proposals are, for example, Zoom. Yes, like I said yesterday when you used the Zoom, it worked very well because all members of the House business were able to communicate and were able to transact business. So that is one of the measures that we are putting in place. We are also looking at mechanisms of how voting can also be done without necessarily all of us meeting together.
Sisi wabunge, ile kazi yetu ya kuappropriate pesa, kuhakikisha Ministry of Health imepata pesa ya kutosha. Kama ni pesa yenye inafaa kwenda kwa wazee, hii pesa yenye inafaa kufida watu wenye hawajiwezi, tunafaa kuwa tumeappropriate, tumehakikisha iko kwa budget mzuri, na hata kama ni supplementary walete tutengeneze. Lakini kama sisi wenyewe hatuko bunge na tumekataa kwenda, sasa hii itakuwa namna gani?
In the meantime, Treasury CS Ukur Yatani is requesting the National Assembly to fast-track the passing of the necessary bills to cushion Kenyans from the sinking economy.
The reduction of VAT will give now opportunity to citizens to have more money because the prices of those products are expected to come down, and to have more disposable income with the view of purchasing more, stimulating the local economy.
Saa hii venye tunafanya ni kukataa kazi yetu. Tunasema executive wafanye venye wanataka, lakini wakati tutakuwa tunarudi kwa wananchi, tutawaambia sisi tulifanya nini.
While members of the Senate will have to wait for an official communication from their Speaker Ken Lusaka on when they should resume their sittings, their colleagues in the National Assembly have no option but to follow their calendar and resume on Tuesday next week, unless advised otherwise by their Speaker Justin Muturi. Chris Tairo, KTN News, Nairobi.
Several motorists